Good morning, everyone. I'm Irina Solovianenko, and I'm managing partner at Access Machinery. Welcome to our Saturday morning live episodes. And as there's a beautiful morning out there, we're gonna have today very special episode. First of all, because Canada Day is coming soon, and we will celebrate it today by the surprise. So stay tuned. And today I have here with me Andrew Vicente, our application specialist, and our special guest, Peter Visser, with the Made Precision Tooling. And we will talk today about essential rules on dressing up your press brake with the right tooling. Peter, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Peter Visser, work for Made Precision Tooling, regional sales manager and sales engineer for Ontario, Canada. I've been with Made for 17 years, been in sheet metal for 30, everything from plant manager down to working on a press brake, welding. Spent a lot of time doing schooling in sheet metal, registered sheet metal worker in Canada. Made Precision Tooling, so much to say. 1962, our humble beginnings. We started in St. Paul's, Minnesota, later moved to Anoka, Minnesota, where we are now in our 300,000 square foot facility, state-of-the-art facility, where we manufacture press brake tooling and CNC punch press tooling. Made really prides themselves on the quality that we make, and our mantra is 100% customer satisfaction guarantee. Anything that we sell, we stand behind. If you're not satisfied, we simply make it work or take it back and refund your money, and that's how we stand behind our product and serve our customers.
And that's really good to hear and to know about the confidence on the company. And speaking about the tooling, you cannot use tooling without the machine. So speaking about the machines, we are featuring today Durma hybrid press brake. This model particular, it's 12 feet, 175 tons. And Access Machinery is a Canadian dealer for Durma. We are located in Ontario, Vaughan, where we have our showroom. And we are hosting today this live stream right from our showroom. And speaking about the Durma is the largest Turkish manufacturer of metal fabricating equipment. As Peter mentioned, Made Precision is originated 1962. Durma is very close to that. Durma has started its business in 1956, so we are actually close in the age. You see, Peter? Yes. I would like Andrew to give a brief overview on the machine that we're featuring today. And then we will move to our special showcase. As I mentioned, there's a Canada Day coming soon, and it's a summer out there, and what Canadians absolutely love making. It's not what you thought. It's a barbecue. So today we're gonna show you live on our equipment. We're gonna make portable Spiducci barbecue, and by the end of this episode, we're gonna give it to the most active participant. Don't be shy, ask as many questions as you want. At the end, most active participant is gonna get this nice portable barbecue to enjoy the whole summer ahead.
That's right. Thank you, Irina. I mean, everybody knows me by now. You've seen all the episodes. So I'm Andrew Vicente here at Access Machinery. So I appreciate the introduction, but getting quite known now. So anyways, this is an 80 servo machine, as Irina said. So this machine, as we talked about in the earlier episodes as well, that this machine uses a servo hydraulic motor combo. So it's like a hybrid machine. So the motor turns and uses less oil. So the motor turns the oil, but is very accurate because it's controlled by a servo instead of a standard motor. In that case, so this machine not only uses less power, but it also has less oil, so the impact of the machine is less. On top of that, we have the accuracy, we got the crowning on this machine, we also have a 4-axis back cage. So this machine is very well equipped to make the equipment we're talking about today, and I'm really excited to show you what this barbecue is going to look like and I really hope you ask some great questions because you know I love answering them, so no problem there. So this machine especially too, thanks to Peter's help, I got some really nice tooling on here today, some really nice mate tooling. We got some goosenecks right there. I really needed this tooling to make this barbecue, so I really appreciate it, Peter. Thank you very much. And this machine is well suited to work with mate tooling, absolutely, and I highly recommend it, especially the quality you've shown me here with how it fits in the hydraulic ram. So what a great fit, great tooling, great machine, everything works out perfectly. All right, so any words on the tooling you gave me, Peter? Anything you could tell me more about it?
Yeah, so this is considered a new standard style of tooling. There's 3 styles of tooling in the world. There's American precision, in the precision wheelhouse. There's American precision, there's European precision, and there's new standard.
Okay.
New standard has become very popular, thus the name new standard. This is based on our Trump wheelhouse style tooling. We use a lot of the same heights that Trump would use in their tool heights, which has kind of become a standard in the world. This tooling here is induction hardened. The advantage of induction hardened tools is the depth of the hardness is about 1/87 of an inch deep into the tool at the wear point. So on your shoulders and on your tip, you'll have 60 Rockwell C scale.
I see.
So the advantage of that is, especially if you're using a laser, nowadays a lot of people are cutting with lasers. There's a lot of dross, debris, dirt, and it's really harsh in the tooling environment. So you want to have quality tools and accurate tools that can stand up to the abuse of fabrication.
Well, that makes sense. But I've seen on the market, I've seen some other tools with coating. Doesn't that solve the laser problem?
Yeah, so coatings are good, but anytime we use a coating, we have to anneal the tool steel, bring it to around 600 degrees to add a coating. It can change the molecular structure of the tool steel. Coatings can be helpful, but they can also weaken the tooling. With the induction hardening, we don't need a coating. The best thing I will always say, whether you're punching or bending, is to lubricate your tools. No different than a car, you wouldn't get very far down the road if you didn't have oil in there. So
good point.
There's a lot of friction, metal on metal.
Yes.
With the pace and the speed of press brakes now and of punching, lubrication is key to your success. So I would, wipe your tools down maybe daily, monthly, hopefully at least yearly. We live in Access Machinery is in the Toronto area. It's a very humid part of Canada during the summer. Things from the base of the machine to the tooling can rust, and so it's very important also for a protective standpoint. Wiping the tools with oil, the oil will bleed into the tools and create a barrier, and you'll get a longer tool life, and you'll get less marking and better quality parts.
All right, so that's why you like the natural finish.
I do.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to circle back a little bit on the beginning. Like, let's say we are beginning job shop, or we just got this machine. We didn't buy tooling, obviously. So can you please tell us what would be the navigation guide? What would be essential rules? How to choose right tooling? Because as we know, right tooling bends it all. Made.
Yeah, so great question, Irina. Every shop's different. Sometimes shops do things that they never expected to do. And so we try to look into the future. We don't have a crystal ball, but essentially I like to work with customers to see where they are and where they want to be. Choosing tooling can be a tool style, it can be a different profile of tooling. Essentially what we want to do is try to get to one tool that can bend the majority of your parts. It may be that the tooling, tooling only will bend 90% of your parts, maybe 80%, but we want to get the maximum use of that tool to bend as many parts as possible. We want as little changeovers as we want. The press brake is the bottleneck in a lot of shops. Lasers can spit out parts faster and punches generally than what the press brakes can handle them. This is the most important place to have minimized setups and to gain productivity and to move parts downstream. So it's very important.
As we mentioned, thank you, Peter. As we mentioned on the previous episode with Umberto and Andrew, when we were showing electric press brake, we were talking how technology goes forward, and everyone is using laser cutting prior to bending. And considering that lasers are going up in their power, it means that they are cutting faster. The manufacturing on the press brake should be going in sync. in order to keep the manufacturing in pace. So that's why right tooling will be another essential point in choosing it, because you will incorporate nicely the press brake with your laser or whatever the flow or on manufacturing is.
That's perfect. So now that we've talked about all the tool features, I appreciate that, Peter, for filling me in on that. Now we talked about the machine as well, the tooling. So let's put this to use and actually make some parts here. So absolutely, we're going to make some parts, and I'm really excited to show you what this barbecue is going to turn out to be. So
Andrew, you want us to move a little bit? Are we on your way?
a little bit.
I wanted to mention that you see, this is the first episode where you have 3 people, and it's getting a little bit tight in front of the machine, right? So we should consider getting larger machines for our showroom so we can fit all our guests and hosts in front of it.
Good point.
Okay, let's make this barbecue.
Let's do it.
Okay.
This machine is equipped with a hydraulic clamping system, so it makes tooling changes easy to do. As you noticed, the mate style tooling here has the buttons, very easy to use in the front, very robust, not going to break or have a problem with it. The screen is telling me where to put the tooling setup, so I know exactly where the tooling needs to go. So again, as I always say before, all I have to do is follow the numbers. Easy to slide. I'm not playing with key turns or anything like that, or have to split the stations. I can put them all together anytime I want. Once you get to the control side, I can see everything, how it's going to bend, and then I can go from there. We're starting off with some stainless steel parts here, and this is a part of the barbecue here. I like to start simple at first to get the idea of things. But as you can see, you still need fairly accurate back gauging here because I don't have a lot of room to put my hand. So I need to trust the back gauge is going to be in the right spot. Notice how I'm using 2 different types of tooling here. They're actually symmetrical, so I can mix tooling with the same heights here. Very easy to change to the next program. It's all stored in the control. So it's easy to flip over, and I can even move tooling adaptively, which will cause the fingers to move to a new position. These are some very accurate acute bends, and this is what requires different types of tooling here. But I wanted to keep the bed layout the same so I can keep the same setup. Again, as Peter talked about earlier, tooling setup is a big part of the bottleneck. So being able to, have technology such as tooling that's all the same height and, all symmetrical to the center allows the setup to be simplified and include many different parts. These are very tight bends, as you can see here. The tooling needs to be accurate and well taken care of. It's very important to take care of your tooling. Switching over to the next program here. Now I can change over again using the same setup. Maybe I want to move it over a little bit. I can just release the clamps and move the tools over, and everything will adapt to the new position. This final part here requires some very accurate gauging. These are pretty sharp parts at the end here, but the back gauge allows me to back gauge properly. As you can see here with the back gauging we have and also the tooling we have, I've been able to use the same setup the entire time. There. That part looks great. Nice and tight bends as well. This requires very tight bends on this part. All right, perfect. So I'll show you the whole assembly at the end, so you're going to have to stay tuned a bit because we're going to show you the entire assembly together. So I'm going to have a bit of a mystery there, but I like how it goes. So Peter, as you were telling me earlier with this tooling, you actually helped me choose this out. So how did you end up getting to this point where you said you need this with this angle and all that? I mean, you were a huge help on this. I know how to bend, but as far as the tooling goes, I just went with your recommendations.
Yeah, good question. There's in the past when we make parts, we draw it out by hand on a piece of paper and we try to match up the tooling to the profile. Now we use DXF files. Of course, we design everything in SolidWorks. What Mate does is a service on our website. All of our tools, by the part number, there will be a DXF file for that tool. So what we're able to do is take your part design and find a tool, match it up with the DXF file in your SolidWorks. So we can choose the right tool, give you the optimum bending for that part.
All right, well, thank you very much. I mean, it was a big help being able to have the tooling setup simplified. All right.
Just following about the tools again and the bottom dies, we often get questions about markless bending. What is it and what tooling can make for you to eliminate those marks after you complete the bending?
Correct. Markless bending is probably one of the biggest questions that I get, most common questions. And there's a scale on that. Some people can live with a little bit of marking or blemishes on the part, and some people want absolute perfection in the part. So there's many different ways to do this. Generally, when you're bending softer material like aluminum, there's a shoulder radius on the bottom die. And so you can choose different shoulder radiuses. The more ample that shoulder radius is, the easier the part has forming over them and not marking and dragging on the part. Of course, it's whenever you do anything in a laser, a press brake, or any machine, there's a give and take. So I can increase my shoulder radius, but I'll lose how small of a flange that I can form. So there's always a balance there. And sometimes I need a small flange, so I can't have a big shoulder radius. And so there's other things we can do. We make urethane dies, we make nylon dies, and they're very effective because I'll give you an example here. I'm going out of the camera. This is the typical way, and the inexpensive way up to now to bend a part without marks. So it's a urethane film. It would be placed over the tools. You can either masking tape it, you could put magnets. There is some locking mechanisms in our catalog that allow you to roll it or lock it in place with magnets. And this will do a couple things. It will protect your dies, and it will protect your parts. So you get some more life. Once again, with all the dirt that comes out of lasers, this can be a very good product. There is some issue with standard urethane rolls. As you're bending with it, it wears. And so what you're constantly doing is the operator is changing the depth of the machine. So once again, being a bottleneck, do you want your operator doing that? So, and it's inexpensive, but it does have a cost to it. So,
where you can get it from?
You can order this from either on our website, www.mate.com. You can call me direct if my name is on the website and my email information. Of course, we want you to go through orders@mate.com, orders with an S. That will go directly to our customer service. You could also call our 1-800 number that's on our website and speak to customer service directly and say you want to roll a urethane. It comes in 15 thou and a 30 thou thick. Usually after about 1/8 thickness in parts, we go to the 30 thou thick. It's more robust and it lasts longer. But a lot of people don't want to pull this and make the adjustments, so they can go to a nylon die or a urethane die itself. They don't last as long as a metal die, of course, but we're really big on Mate on calculating what time is being lost here. So if an operator is spending 30 minutes a day or an hour a day adjusting the controller and moving this, times let's say an $80 loaded shop rate, times 252 working days, we can be into the 5, sometimes 6 digits depending on how many machines you have throwing money out the door. So the cost of tooling is pretty small compared to what your manufacturing, your other variable costs are in manufacturing. Most companies spend probably less than 1% of their variable budget on tooling. So what we really want to do is get the right tooling to cut your costs and your downstream costs.
When you put the math that way, it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking about costs, right? For the machinery buyers, press brake, new owners, what they should know, how they should budget tooling for future, just to get understanding what to expect. And this is probably will be important information for the purchasing department or for the plant managers.
Correct.
Or whoever is procuring new equipment to realize that this is a machine. Machine requires tooling. So what would be the idea of budgeting?
Yeah, it's a good question. Some customers of ours, or fabricators in general, will spend more on tooling than the cost of the price of the machine itself over its life. So you can budget for ahead. I mean, the way we manufacture tooling is you can call before 12 and we can have something at your doorstep before 12. So we don't want to overload your shelves with stuff you may not use. We're a just-in-time manufacturer. We want to get you the right product at the right time. But budgeting is interesting because a lot of times my customers will budget for the break as capital budget, and they'll put their money in there, and then they come to the tooling and they find out they might have to spend $10,000, $20,000, up to $100,000, maybe more on tooling. Sometimes more than the price of the press brake itself. Sometimes it gets put in the plant manager's hand, and then he might not have the budget or want to spend it out of his budget. So I really coach my customers that when you're buying a machine, make sure you speak to the tooling professional. I love to come and counsel you and set a budget up that can be included with the machine, so you're prepared for having that money available to have the right tooling and the machine all put together in a package.
That's a good point for customers who already have their drawings in place, when they know exactly what they want to produce or manufacture on their machines. Then it's a good, very good point to speak to Peter on tooling at the time when you're purchasing your machine, or to get your machine and get tooling after, when you understand what you will be making on the machine. So we should say that customers should budget 30% approximately for tooling,
a good number,
something like that. Yeah, Peter, I heard you have like fantastic tooling that you brought us to show today. Can you show it, please?
Yeah, of course there's 3 styles of tooling. Mate was, we were doing new standard tooling and European tooling. We wanted to get in the American precision market space. American precision can also run into a hydraulic clamping rail. Of course, we're very familiar with the push button tools. There's a little tooth that comes out, it engages in here, and then the hydraulic ram will pull it up, the clamping rail will pull it up. Buttons are great, but they're a mechanical feature that can fail, just like anything else. So we really wanted to look at the safety aspect. The press brake, I don't know if it's the 2nd or 3rd, but it's in the top 5 most dangerous pieces of equipment. So safety is very important. It's priceless. You can't put a price on your fingers or not getting injured. So
It's right here, I guess.
So this is a great new product from Mate. It's called MagLock. It uses magnets instead of buttons, and that's how we positively engage the tool into the machine. There's no place where buttons or mechanisms can fail and tooling can fall onto people's fingers. It also works in the hydraulic rail, and it also works, there's a machine across from here that you can't see, but it takes American and European tooling. It can also work in both formats. So,
That's it?
That's it.
Can I see it again, please?
Yeah, so there's a little release button that allows me to break the magnetic flow between the upper rail. You just simply put it in.
It's even easier than the buttons.
It's easier than the buttons, and it's safer. There's some real great advantages. The buttons actually, the standard in the industry is 26 pounds for the buttons. When we leave the buttons, we go to pins. We have to slide the tooling in from the side of the machine. We have to open the gate on the machine.
Of course.
And then sometimes we have to adjust the light guard to get the tooling in. A lot of machines now have smaller and smaller gap in order to get the tooling in.
Of course.
The reason is because a lot of machines go to O-frame designs and stronger designs. I know there's an electric machine over here that has that very stable machine, but it's harder and harder to get tooling in. The magnets allow us to put greater weight and still be able to top load the tooling from this position without opening the gate. And sometimes there's just tools that won't fit through there, so the magnets will still allow us to make special tools that can load top side on the machine.
Wow, that's a wild feature. I really like that one. Thanks for showing me that one, Peter. I'll have to get more of that next time too. All right, so we've been talking about tooling the entire time, so you know what? Let's use some more tooling and let's make the next part.
In action.
That's right, exactly. Okay. All right, here we go with the next part of the barbecue. I can switch over to a new tooling type nice and easy because the display tells you what tooling type it is. It'll actually automatically adjust the height of the ram based on the tooling in the machine. As you can see here, this is taller tooling now. being a 175 ton servo press, that acute angle on this 14 gauge stainless was no problem. Our axis back gauging, or up and down in this case, if you want to call it that way, makes this bend easy to do on the acute angle, and I can gauge there. The tall height of the machine here, or the ram height as you call it, or other people call it many different names for the ram height opening, but in this case it is nice and wide on this servo machine, so I'm able to bend this very tall box part, and I could get even longer tooling for this machine. The large bed size allows me to have a complex setup such as this, so I just bent 2 flanges at one point, reducing a bottleneck there. I would have had to do 4 bends instead. Now I've reduced it to 2. Taking the stage bending even further, again, the bed size being nice and large, I can move all the way over to this station and complete another complex bend. The tooling was difficult in this case to find the position if you didn't have the screen here. So having the screen telling you where the numbers is made this changeover actually quite easy. I can actually do some complex things such as this. I can actually release the tooling, move it over during the middle of bending, close the clamps, all in less than 30 seconds to prepare for this bend that required me to move some tooling over so I don't hit the flanges on the side. Pretty amazing that you can even do this in the middle of a setup. Again, with the tall height here and these tall tools, the box just misses the height here, and this is what is very important that Peter said earlier about getting the right tooling of what you want to do and what parts you want to do. So it's very important to consult either us or Mate, and we'll get you the right tooling and the right specifications. All right. All right, so this is the prize we can win today, the full barbecue assembly here. You're probably wondering where the legs are. Well, they tuck right inside and they just clip on the bottom here. No problem at all. And yeah, you even got a nice little carrying handle on top. You can hold it like this, take it right with you. You'll be the life of the party with this thing.
Can you please show us?
Absolutely. So, Spaducci grill being, you put your skewers on cross and you're perfectly fine.
Prior to bending, tell us what you did. You laser cut it, right?
Correct, of course. This is a laser cut part as well. That's why we have the precision here, so all these things fit nicely together. Of course, we have our logo on there as well. It's a nice hole cut out for us. Yeah, that being a laser cut part, that's right. And of course, with laser cutting, this part is clean. But as Peter said earlier, not all parts are going to come out for laser clean. In our case, I can get it tuned for you properly, but it always happens. You might have a little bit of burr, and the operator might not think about it and put it right on the tooling, and it will damage the tooling. Absolutely. So this is what we're going to be able to win today.
Let's put legs on it.
I
would like to see that.
Well, it's kind of, yeah. Well, I'm holding it right now, but essentially it goes like this. No, it's okay. So the legs go like this, and they click in like this.
That's
on all 4
excellent.
corners, yeah. And
it's going to fit my trunk. I don't know about yours, but I can do it. Maybe even on the bike, right? You can put it on front of you.
That was the point of it, and that's why the carrying handle. It's very robust, and it'll hold a lot of meat.
And I love Spaducci. We can do like skewers, like shrimp or chicken wings.
Chicken wings.
Chicken wings. That sounds good. I'm making me hungry. Come on.
Get into a lunch.
That's right. All right, so I will put this thing down and look forward to winning this.
Excellent. So we basically used 2 machines to fabricate this portable barbecue. We used our fiber laser that we have here in the showroom, and we used the press brake. I wanted to specify a little bit about the hybrid press brakes that Durma is making. What is so special? Like, what makes Durma is outstanding manufacturer of fabricating equipment? Number 1, we are capable to make the machine customized for your manufacturing. We can make the higher stroke, we can make deeper gap through, We can make larger daylight. And speaking about the size and the tonnage, we can make up to 18 feet and 600 press and tonnage. So this is amazing, considering that average manufacturers of hybrid press brakes, they can go only up to 300 tons, and we can make 600. And the machine is compatible for tandem, tridem, and so on. So basically, imagination is a limit, right? Going back to tooling, why is it important buying tooling? Like, why I just throw something and bend it? I don't know.
You're gonna make Peter gasp.
Yeah.
Throw something in there.
Yeah, you know, there's different kinds of tooling throughout the eras. There was what's called planer tooling. It's a soft tooling. It comes out of a planer machine. When I say soft, of course, all metal is hard. It's somewhere in the 30, 35 Rockwell. That's a scale of its hardness. Precision ground, such as this tooling, is in the 60 Rockwell. You know, why would you buy from Mate Tooling, and why would you buy quality tooling like that? You know, for Mate, it's the people that make the tooling. I mean, I'll be honest, there's a lot of great tool manufacturers, and there's a lot of exacting precision standards that a lot of other companies are following. You know, I've worked for Mate for 17 years, and what I've seen is just the level of support this company gives our customers. From, once again, our 100% customer satisfaction guarantee. We stand behind the product, but we have over 20 salespeople representing Mate in North America alone. We're in 64 countries around the globe. What I've seen is every Mate representative has worked out in the shop, has worked with sheet metal, has worked with tooling. We bring that value to our customers. And it starts all the way in our engineering, where we design product, to our customer service, which I challenge anyone to find, well, Durma would have great customer service. And you know, it's interesting. I've known Irina for about a year here, and she's really made me feel like a part of the family here at Access Machinery. And I think that's such an important quality, is that relationship with your customer. You know, working hand in hand with your customer, giving them solutions on the spot and allowing them to be the most productive they can. That's really what drives our company. The tooling is fantastic, of course, but the people are even better.
Absolutely, I totally agree, and I have to say that nowadays the whole business is challenging, right? Our industry in the fabricating and forming is especially challenging, because there's a lot of offering on the market, and sometimes you can get disoriented, right? Because it looks like this equipment, there's another equipment, right? Why to choose one? So as Peter mentioned, that human touch is as important as equipment itself. But I would like to mention phenomenal customer service that Mate Precision Tooling is offering. Like, literally today is Saturday morning, and we have discussed like what we're gonna show on this episode, like what we would like to do in the upcoming Canada Day, and we decided, we came out with the idea of this portable barbecue. We needed tooling for this.
That's right.
And it was Thursday afternoon when Peter came to our showroom. We discussed what tooling will be required to make this barbecue, and next day, literally Friday, yesterday, by afternoon, less than a day, we already had tooling on the machine, and Andrew started to practice what you see today.
That's right.
On that. So that's phenomenal. One day. So any project, we all know time is money. Everything is about time nowadays. Lead times are shrinking. Pressure is growing. So it's very important to have a reliable partner who will deliver to you on time.
Correct.
Highly recommended.
I mean, and what's great too is that you're probably wondering, well, how did you turn around a part in one day? And that's what we're talking about here too, because not only did Peter recommend tooling to me, he also gave me the DXFs, everything I need to know about it, the heights. So then I took it to the software. So even before the tooling arrived and I tested it, being in the software on the laser and on our D-bend software, I was able to simulate everything. So everything just kind of came together. It was a neat case study in our own right, just being able to say, Thursday night, I need these tooling. The tooling came the next day. I already knew it was going to work. We already decided. And that's why all the magic came together today, and that's why we have a barbecue made.
Excellent.
I'm going to add just a little bit to that. Is You know, ultimately what my goal is to come into our customers and see what they're doing and be able to take something that may have 3 bends, take it down to 1 bend. Maybe something that has 4 handlings, take it down to 2 handlings. There's 3 kinds of tooling on the market. There's what's called stock tooling. It's in a catalog. It will do 90% of what you can throw at it. Then you have what's called modified standards. It's where we take a standard tool and we either modify the radius tip, the shoulder on the bottom die, maybe the height, and that's something that we can turn around in a day or 2, modify it to your exacting tolerances on your drawing for your radius. And then of course there's specialty tooling. And that's where I take something like that has a U-channel and I want to bend that in 1 hit instead of 2 hits. If you can imagine a U-channel, I have to bend it, turn the part around, and bend it again.
Correct.
And so, you know, if you're making 10,000, 100,000 of a part, if I can cut that literally in half, your run cycle, you can imagine being a bottleneck to press brake, just like a spot welder is or the welding department.
Right.
I've all of a sudden freed up half of my time. Most jobs in the press brake where you're bending, let's say 10,000 parts, sometimes that could be 3 or 4 days of bending 1 part. If I can cut that to a day and a half, you can imagine times all the parts that go through a sheet metal shop. Sometimes I've saved customers in the millions in 1 year just by introducing specialty tooling.
That's amazing. Thank you for that.
Absolutely amazing, yes. Okay, shall we move to questions? Do we have any questions?
Oh, I'd love to. Well,
Do we? Okay, excellent.
perfect.
Oh my God, get ready.
I love this engagement. Thank you very much.
There's a question from Mark. Thank you, Mark. How do you choose your punch profile, angle, and the radius tip?
Yeah, it's a good question. So most parts that we see are bent to 90 degrees. If you look at anything that's manufactured, 90 degrees is kind of what engineers design things around. We like to sell tooling that's close to 90 degrees, and the reason is the closer I get to 90 degrees in the tool, this is an 86 degree tool, the stronger it is. A lot of parts have to be bent to acute angles, so 30 degrees, and so this bottom die here is a 30 degree, it's 28 degree actually, and so as I get narrower and narrower in the bend, the tool gets weaker and it can crack. So safety, of course, is always our first consideration. We go with the strong tool set, and if I have to bend anything past 90 degrees, I will go to an acute set to do that application.
Wow.
So that's how we choose angles generally. Radius tips, it really depends what you're manufacturing. A lot of people just use a sharp tip to bend everything. If I'm doing something structural, I used to work at a place and we used to make the harnesses for people that wash windows up on the buildings. And it was very important how structurally strong that harness was, the welding, the radius of the bend. You don't want someone falling off the side of a building washing.
Naturally.
Not good. So there's a bunch of rules we follow, and I work with my customers to optimize the strength of the product they're making. So up to about 1/8 material, we can use sharp bends and keep the integrity of the metal still strong. When I get past 1/8, we kind of use what's the 60% rule. I usually take 60% of the material thickness, and that's how I determine my radius tip. If you can imagine, if I have a sharp tool and I'm going into some thick material, I'm not going to be really breaking or bending the material. I will be digging into the material. I'm almost like shearing into the material, and I'm creating a weak bend. Some tool choices come down to aesthetics. When I started in this trade, there was a lot of parts that they were bent really tight, and it goes back to the kind of bending you can do. You can do bottom bending and coining where we put things really tight. Some people like that tight look, and some people like the radius look. Now, I'd say about 10 years ago, we were really bending a lot of things with radiuses, and that was kind of the look people wanted. I've seen more and more of the tight extruded look coming back, and so sometimes what we do is we go to a tighter bottom die. There's a rule that says 6 to 12 times my material thickness is how I determine the opening of my die, but those rules can be challenged, and they can be changed to suit the aesthetic and the look of your part. But once again, I work with the customer to see what they want to achieve, what their strength is required, and we build the tooling around that.
Wow, you really are the tooling master. That's amazing. I
You
love
guys
it.
are showing me that it's 10:40 already, so we're basically hitting a record today.
That's right. Well, I'm just absorbing all the knowledge.
I warned you guys that if you get me talking, it could be long.
Perfect. All right. So, but we got a lot more questions to get through still. So, thank you.
I'll shorten up the answers.
Well, that's up to you. Hey. So this is one I'm actually curious myself, and I always see on the machine, or I've heard this over and over again, and I've only been bending for a couple of years. What is air bending versus the other types?
Yeah, so air bending is the most common use now. It's the safest. Air bending is what's also known as three-point bending. So you have 3 points on a tool, you have your punch, you have your two radiuses here. And so that's called three-point air bending. Essentially, my part doesn't touch the sides of the punch or inside the die. So air bending, because I'm not putting any pressure or putting the tooling into sort of a mold of the shape of the tool. Air bending's great because it allows me to manipulate my parts. So if my overall cut size was wrong and my parts are coming small or big, I can change my bottom die to increase the overall length of my parts. So it allows you to change the dynamics of your sheet metal. The other cool thing about air bending is my inside radius, I can change that by changing my bottom die. So there's this 20% rule that says, and it's a rough rule depending on the material type and thickness, but I take 20% of my material thickness and I can use that to...
And that's the rule set there. Perfect. All right, so we got another question. I love these questions we got. I know you're big on this, but Stephen Mills asks, about tooling mates, what do you recommend for storage and maintenance, maybe as quick as possible?
Yeah, probably one of my favorite things I like to work with my customers is maintenance, taking care of things, training. I guess what I see the disconnect is tools are expensive. They have a high cost. When I worked in the shop, I had a pair of calipers. I had to buy my own calipers, and they were $500 at that time. And I took a lot of pride in care of them. I cleaned them, I oiled them. And so what I do see in my travels is a lot of operators not taking care of the tools. Some of these tools, like I said, can run into 6 digits. So what you want to do is have clean storage. You want to have maybe not a metal rack. You want to put it into a wood rack or a plastic rack, somewhere where it can't drag and destroy the tool steel, because you don't want metal on metal. You want somewhere that's dry and not moist. So I like the loft cabinet with some salt stuff in there to keep the moisture out. But ultimately, it's like anything else. Good housekeeping, lots of oiling, lots of cleaning it. What I see a lot of too is people throwing tools onto a cart, throwing them into the shelf. They ding, they hit each other. When metal hits each other, it swells. The metal doesn't go anywhere, and it creates little lumps on the end, and then tools don't fit good together. And what we start to see is bend lines between the tool sections on our parts. So maintenance, keeping them clean, oiling them, and treating them like what they're worth, and that's a high value.
Can I jump in with
Sure.
my question, please? I know I'm not typing those questions, but I also can be active participant. Maybe I can win this barbecue.
That's a good point.
What is the oldest punch or die that you've ever seen from Mate? Like you said, the company started in '62.
Yeah.
Do you know if there's still somewhere in use like back?
Yeah, I've seen actually the one I've seen recently was one of our prototypes that we used it at a German shop to test the tooling for 6 months.
Is it still in use?
Hey, that machine traveled from Germany to here, and that tool was I don't know.
So it's like 60
many
years
decades old. That was
for a tool.
that was a punching tool that I had never seen it before. So I called marketing and I said, "What is this tool?" And they said, that tool. I think that tool was 35 years old and it was still original in existence. Of course, there's still tools that we have all the way back to 1962. But here's the truth: tooling is a consumable. It's metal on metal and has a high wear. I think a point a lot of people miss is that this tool was machined in 4/10 accuracy, not 4/1000, 4/10. If you can imagine, depending on my V opening and an average sheet metal thickness of, let's say, 16 gauge, 1/1000 can be 2 degrees.
Wow.
So even between these two pieces, 4/10, I can be 8/10. I'm almost 1/1000. There can already be a degree or two difference. And so tools, like a gooseneck, they compress, they bend, the radius tips wear, and tool heights change. And that's why we see bends that start to look like this over time.
Yes.
And so what the operator's doing is shimming, playing around with the crowning, and always chasing his tail, and probably spending hours a day, a week, of wasted time. So keeping care of tooling and understanding how precise this product is. So you have a precise machine, precise tooling, precise parts. If you stray outside of that, your part quality goes down, and your customers aren't going to get the same quality of sheet metal products from
That
you.
makes sense. Yeah, good tires and a good car, right? That makes sense.
Right.
That's an old one. All right, I love this question. This is asked by, I hope I don't mispronounce your name, but it's Perico Sapien. And I'm actually curious about this myself. It's they have an American style, like you said, in front of us. We have an American style and Euro styles, and they want to get into hydraulic. Is there anything you can do to adapt that?
You can move to hydraulic. Once again, you have to look at the age of the brake. I know in Canada, when you move a brake, even an inch, you may have to re-guard it. It might get unplugged. So when I look at older machines, I look at, what is its productivity, what is its safety factor? Do I want to spend $30,000 on a hydraulic clamping rail?
No, I guess the question is a little bit different. So
It's like
the
the tooling.
customer, they have
Yeah.
already tooling,
Yes.
right? And they used to have conventional
Correct.
Okay.
clamping system. And the new machine that they're getting, it's with a hydraulic clamping. So is
Yeah.
it possible to reuse tooling?
No, they won't. Well, for one, just as I said, I wouldn't want to put used tooling, old tooling in a new machine. You kind of defeat the purpose. It's like buying a used pair of shoes. They've molded themselves to someone else's foot.
New shoelaces.
That precise tolerance on the tooling is you defeat the purpose if you use older tooling. Also, this is based on a new standard. They would have to get a machine because with the magnets, that's how we use the safety feature of the buttons. If they have older tooling, it won't work necessarily in that. You'll have to have a safety
So
notch on the tool.
It's about those clamps, right?
It will come.
At the
It will
top.
come down to safety. It will come
Makes
down to their generation of tooling. Will it work in here? I mean, I wouldn't buy an expensive machine with a clamping rail and put old tooling in it. I just
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not
I
going
agree.
to
Makes sense.
Just to answer someone else's question, because it was a good question from the beginning. In our case, it's not possible to retrofit older brake for the hydraulic clamping. It needs to be done right at the factory, and it's always better way to start it from the scratch in this case.
You can buy clamping rails and retrofit them. I've seen very little of that happening because when you look at the price of the rail, the time, your old tooling,
Exactly.
I agree.
You could be into a new brake that's a lot more productive.
And more accurate,
More accurate,
brand new.
correct.
This is a great one for you, Irina. It's asked by Irvin. Check this one out.
What is the maximum thickness you can bend with that machine? Well, maximum thickness will always depend on the tonnage of the machine, of course. So particularly with this machine, we have 175 metric tons, which is 192
U.S. tons.
US, right? Imperial. So in the full length of the brake, in between columns, that machine has a 3.7 meter. You can bend a 1/4 inch mild steel. You can probably go a little bit higher in the thickness, but again, we are talking in the full length. So our machines are coming 80 tons per meter on the pressing tonnage. So depending on your task, we can reinforce body of the machine if you need to bend something thicker, and the size of the machine is sufficient.
Perfect.
It's closed.
No worries. It's close. I think there was two more questions. Yes. So I think you talked about this earlier, Irina. You said there's a stroke we can change on this if you need it a little bit bigger.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So the regular size of the stroke is a 10 inch on the machine, and we can make it up to 14. And we can also change the gap throat is the standard is 450 millimeters in the Imperial. Just divide it 2.54.
The old equation, exactly. Hey, no problem. So that's a good one. And also here we got another one too. Peter, as quick as possible, because I know you could, and I love that you're answering these, but it's kind of a general question from Perico Sapien again. They're asking, how much length of tooling do you recommend buying for a brand new 10-foot machine, for example?
You know, a lot of people, that's a good question. A lot of people will just buy, if they have a 10-foot brake, give me 10 feet of tooling. If you have a
Makes
4-foot
sense.
brake, essentially, once again, I want to look at what you're bending. You might only need, 2 feet. And so, because this stuff is exacting tolerances, You could buy another piece tomorrow and it would fit together like it came from the same blank.
That is true. That's a good
let's
point.
approach. And sometimes when people buy a new machine, sometimes it's good to just start small, especially if it's their first machine. Get comfortable with it, and then move into more tooling for more different parts.
Perfect. And bringing us into this next one. I love the questions we're getting from Pedico Sapiens. The tool adapters, can we adapt Willis style, Euro, American?
That's a really good question.
Okay.
Actually, all tool styles have different profiles, and sometimes a European profile might fit your part better, then I don't have to make a custom tool. So I can borrow from all three product lines. So we build adapters to go between all tool styles, and we utilize that in order to get tooling quick to you and be able to make different bends with different styles of tooling. So very popular of adapters and extensions.
Well, thank you, and
To know from me as well.
thank you for the questions. This is great. I mean, we got lots of them, and thank you very much for asking the questions. So now I guess
It's time.
that's time.
You can do the calculations of who asked the most of the questions.
We definitely had Pedico Sapiens, definitely. Oh, hang on, we got a tie here, I think. Ooh, unless we get one more question. But we got a tie between Irvin and Pedico Sapiens. Oh, no, he has three. Oh, he asked three questions. So, Pedico Sapiens, what do we say? He's the winner? You're the winner of the barbecue. Congratulations. Happy Canada Day.
I hope you're located in Canada, so it will be better a little bit for us to ship this to you. Otherwise, we can send you drawings, so we're pretty sure you have
Yeah, get the break, exactly.
No, I'm joking, of course. Well, thank you so much for watching us,
Yes.
Peter. We are extremely,
Thanks for having me
extremely
here. I
honored to
appreciate
Thank you.
have
Thank
here.
you. Thank you.
Again, you can contact directly Peter. Peter Visser. You can find him on LinkedIn. You can find his contact information on Made Precision Tooling website. Please ask questions and contact for all your tooling needs. And just to let you know, it's not only for the press brake. Made Precision Tooling is also making amazing tools for turret punches.
Correct.
If you need
And laser perishables too.
Oh, laser.
Yes,
yeah,
and
that's
the
right.
laser consumables as well. As for us, I wanted to give you a little bit of updates. Next week we're going to be celebrating Canada Day together with you, and we're going to take a break on the next Saturday, so don't miss us too much. But on July 4th, and to our US viewers, Happy Independence Day, because we know that you're going to be celebrating that weekend. We're going to come back live on July 11th, and it's going to be surprise. Just to give you a hint, it's going to be cutting machine.
That's right. Back to lasers.
Yes, and we're going to show some features that we didn't show before. It's going to be mostly on the. I'm not going to say what. You can contact
Anticipation.
us at www.accessmachinery.ca, and you can send us your requirements to info@accessmachinery.ca. Please, more than welcome as always. If you want us to feature you on the episode, you can send us your drawings, and we will be glad to do that. Thanks so much for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Happy
care.
weekend and
Be
happy
safe.
Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.